So maybe you're hearing this and you're unfamiliar with suicidal ideation. So imagine this. Imagine experiencing a kind of pain so deep and intense that it feels impossible. It's not physical pain, but it's a psychological one, often referred to as psych ache. This is a neologism coined by suicidologist Edwin Scheidham. Psych ache is this unbearable psychological pain, hurt, anguish, or soreness and aching. Scheidham theorized that unresolved psych ache results in suicidal behavior. So again, imagine that this unbearable amount of pain and anguish all within your own mind. Imagine that if you're unfamiliar what sort of suicidal ideation or suicidal thoughts feel like. It's an unbearable, unimaginable pain. You feel like you're sort of in the depths of your own hell. And research has shown that people experiencing suicidal ideation are often highly motivated to avoid this psychological pain. And you can understand why. They're not necessarily seeking death itself, but are driven by an intense wish to end their suffering, and the thought of suicide often serves as a potential escape from their psyche. That's why, they might fantasize about dying, even if they don't actively engage in suicidal behavior. In a way, these fantasies provide them comfort from their hurt because they just want the pain to end and they don't see another way out. That's how deep this psychological pain is. There's a quote that perfectly describes the reality of these thoughts. It goes, "Suicide does not end the pain. It passes it to someone else. By committing suicide, these feelings get transferred to loved ones and create a never-ending loop of pain, grief, and loss inside a dark brain." My family and I completely understand this since we lost my sister back in 2018. That's just a quote, but I also don't really like saying committed suicide. I preferred died by suicide, but it's really up to you what language you want to use. But in the mental health community, we like to use died by suicide. And so that's sort of the deep pain that people feel and potentially why they see suicide as a way out, as a relief from their pain. And so studies have shown that suicidal thoughts and behaviors are also linked to specific changes in the brain, right? Neuroimaging studies, which use advanced technology to look inside the brain, revealed noticeable changes in certain brain areas when someone experienced suicidal ideation. You have the ventral prefrontal cortex and the dorsal prefrontal cortex are crucial for regulating our emotions and making decisions. Then you have the insular cortex is another key brain region that helps us process our emotions and how we physically feel. When these areas are not working correctly, it can lead to very intense negative feelings and, more importantly, difficulty making decisions. So essentially, these brain changes mean that people experiencing suicidal thoughts often can't think as clearly or make decisions as they normally would. The intensity of these thoughts and emotions can make it hard for them to see beyond their current state of mind. It's very important to understand those types of things and what's happening in the brain. Understanding this can help us see very clearly why suicide is never a good solution, because the brain changes and intense emotions driving these thoughts are temporary. But every person is different and each person's experience is different as well. And that's important to understand. So no matter how overwhelming all of these emotions and thoughts can get, it's important to know that there's always hope. Psychologists call these protective factors, or things that can protect against suicidal thoughts or behaviors, right? Things like learning effective coping mechanisms. These skills act as a toolkit to help you manage stress and emotional pain. Another, right, is having a sense of purpose, whether it's through work or hobbies or personal goals. Having something to strive for that's bigger and outside of you can give your life meaning and direction, a target, something to head at. So you have effective coping strategies, right? You have this sort of mental health toolkit that you've developed, right? And then you have this sort of sense of meaning and purpose. Those are protective factors that you can use and apply and build in your life. Then on top of that, you also have access to mental health resources, right? It's another critical protective factor, potentially like being able to reach out for professional help and support can make a significant difference. We talked about having a strong network of friends. That's also going to be a protective factor. And so you have those ideas that can be built as skills, as tools into your life as protective factors. The whole point of this is to continue to bring this issue out of the dark, because the more we talk about it, the more we can help save lives, because we all play a part in preventing suicide. And understanding more about suicidal ideation is an important step in making sure, people don't feel alone and that they have a choice and that things can get better. And from the outside looking in, we can understand, sort of imagine how deep that pain is and how dark it might be when we're having these sort of suicidal thoughts. And so always remember, this is very true and very accurate, that the world needs you here. Thank you very much for tuning in to that clip. If you enjoyed it, then you'll love the full-length episode right here. Click it. Go ahead.